All right, welcome back to the project. RZ Roy Reacts. We're back here to watch stuff because, and this is really a spare project kind of thing. I should suggest that it's not something that ooh, what happened there?
The free
That I should be doing so often, um, but rather on my spare time. Okay, and spare time is allocated um, pretty much every single day because that spare time actually involves a long-term goal. So it's an activity that has a real commitment to it, and that real commitment goes to this reaction type content where we watch stuff that we just want to watch. Part of it is a lot of reactors reacting to a lot of shows I want to watch, particularly anime that I didn't get the chance to when I was growing up. All throughout, in fact, growing up, it's just that sounds like such a childhood thing. I mean, all the way throughout, even into adulthood. Like, obviously, that just makes it even more tight on time when deadlines. But we can dedicate and allocate a certain amount of time to that um, every day and try and make it a goal to build something out of it. But there's also other things that we're reacting to, and there are like lots of interesting shorts, so like people dancing on TikTok who are actually really, really good. And in this case, I know that sounds really weird, right? People dancing on TikTok isn't usually something that comes to mind when you want to react to something. Um, those are one of those like compilation reaction videos, if anything, that you see like variety streamers do. I don't mind doing that either, right? Because sometimes I do just watch stuff like that, but I might as well create something out of it if I'm going to do it. And in this case, I also just happened to stumble upon a creator I really like hearing the commentary and the dissection of. His name's Knox Hill. He does rap dissections. I know that this one of my one of my groups. So my brother really mentioned that he probably doesn't like the fact that this guy doesn't really say a lot of negative stuff. So he seems a little bit less authentic. For me, I don't have any qualms with that. I like when people highlight the positives. I think I've had too much negativity in my life. I keep just trying to avoid it all. And I'm especially done through the phase of trying to fight it all. I'm certainly done with that part, the adversarial fighting portion, like where I bare my fists. I don't want to do that anymore. I'm tired of it, tired of the drama. So I really enjoy, and what I really like Knox Hill about Knox Hill's commentary, sorry, isn't about his positive or negative nature. It's more got to do with he's a very intelligent individual. He really knows. Well, that's because he actually does his own. He has his own music, and his music's actually pretty sick. So I always like to hear his thoughts and the way he breaks down the lyricism and the meaning behind a lot of the songs that he commentates on. And I think that's what we're going to do right now is just listen to him. He used to react to a lot of rap music, but now he's reacting just like there's a usual trajectory for a lot of reactors, especially in their reacting to music. It's they start with rap and then they move on to rock and heavy metal, and then to a probably a few other genres, but those are let's see. I think a common one is pop, and then K-pop, but whichever one helps them to blow up. Really, obviously, it's just about gaining traction at the start before you can actually really get to do things that you want to do for fun, right? It's all about growth at first. But even so, right, there's real traction because even when you've made it, it's easy to spiral downhill, right? Because you've got to maintain the entertainment, the entertaining value, and the engaging, how engaging you are. Does that make any sense? You have to make sure that your content is still fun to watch. Basically, long story short, there we go. That's a good way to describe it. So it's quite important that they react to a genre that isn't boring as shit, like country. Sorry, guys. And I actually really like country myself, but even I know that it's not gonna blow up the same way that something like really excited fan bases in K-pop and really super, explosive and loud and music in rock and heavy metal would, or things that are very underground aggressive nature, the weaving and the ins and outs of rap would. So obviously if you want something to grow, you've got to put a lot of emotion into it. I recognize that I am doing the exact opposite of what I should be doing. But that's just me. At least I'm making something out of it at this point. And I wanted to watch Knox Hill. Now that's a very long-winded introduction. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Maybe I should just like stop this recording and clip out another segment. Anyways, this is my appreciation for Knox Hill. Why don't we start with reaction now? Let's go. Oh, by the way, I should turn down the music on the side. Yeah. And let's just make sure that it is very good. So over here you can see that I just got like my little webcam through, it's like through the screen. I know that you can't see my face very well on stream, but through the video it should be fine. So let's begin.
Reusable bag. Save the environment, kids. What's going on, YouTube? It's Knox Hill, and we're back for our reaction series. So today, man, it is Monday, aka the day of Metal. Metal Mondays is back, and we have a band that we've been diving into the dark and twisted realm of. I'm talking about SLIPKNOT, and this has been...
It's interesting because he actually has a dedicated time slot for Metal a week now, so it's into the schedule. It's not just something that just kind of, you know, just takes on recommendations based off its fan base.
Been highly requested from you guys in the comment section, so it's none other than PSYCHOSOCIAL. But before getting further, I want to give a quick shout out to the Patreon. Listen, guys, a lot of these reactions I cannot monetize. A great way to support the channel directly and the content that I put out is by joining the Patreon. I give you more reactions, more exclusive content on there. It's a great community, great family. If you want to support, I'll put the links to it below. But anyways, know what we're here for. Corey Taylor, SLIPKNOT, step up to the plate. See what you got. Will that say all hope is gone? Oh, this is going to be fun. Like skipping through a merry-go-round.
He's such a sarcastic person, right? That's another thing I like about him. He's got a lot of charisma, you know? Went left, right.
What the... What are those things? Children of the Corn?
That's really scary.
Ran into Stonehenge and had babies?
I thought those were like...
I don't know.
How did he read that together? I guess it's because he's British that he thinks Stonehenge. But I thought, like, when he said kernels, I thought like cornhead kernels.
Nice.
But I've watched the video before myself, so I will say before we, it's just about to start. So before we enter this, I will say that I had a phase where I really enjoyed heavy metal music, and I dived into a little bit of SLIPKNOT, and PSYCHOSOCIAL was my favorite song from them. I don't think that's a surprise for many people. It's kind of like, you know, you've got certain songs that are just very iconic representations of each band, and in this particular case of SLIPKNOT, PSYCHOSOCIAL would be to SLIPKNOT as I think Toxicity would be to System of a Down. And you know, if you go to like alt metal, like alt rock, you would say, like, for example, Breaking Benjamin's So Cold would be, or We Need Something Bigger, Diary of Jane, right? There's some songs that really represent the band, and this is one of them. PSYCHOSOCIAL really represents SLIPKNOT. It's the really big hit. Sorry, I'm losing sight of how to describe it. Definitely not as well versed in music as a lot of other people are. Again, I'm late into this kind of stuff. I didn't experience music at the same time that a lot of people do until later in life for me. Whereas most people experience it like when they're like early teenage, maybe they're not even like adolescents or something.
I love the mass. Like, I feel like Halloween should be allowed to happen year round, and I'm pretty sure I saw the drummer just take like voodoo dolls and like pins to a whole new level, and I like it. And there's a face burning on fire. Again, like
symbolism.
This is like the stuff that
right?
Children's dreams are made out of right here.
Haven't heard the sound.
Saw ain't got shit on SLIPKNOT.
What is face though?
I did my time. I want out. The effusive? Fading? I mean, who puts effusive into your lyricism? Like, the dude just opens up Merriam-Webster's dictionary And he's obviously a very intelligent cat in the way that he thinks about stuff and puts these lines together. Like, so you're effusive, you're like over the top, right? You're giving an emotive speech, right?
You notice the way that Knox breaks it down. It's like an English school teacher, not an English school teacher. Sorry, that's the opposite. I usually think of English school teachers as being not very good in breaking music down. Maybe I just had some really shit English teachers. No, I had some really good ones too. But the way he broke it down, like, it's very philosophical. You know, he just stops, and he throws it out of tune, out of melody, right? It doesn't cut. The effusive, and it's not in the same rhythm. He's separating the lyrics from the tune, the rhythm, the melody,
with it,
so that he can actually objectively analyze and break down the meaning and the message behind the words.
And yet it fades. And then what does he say? Man, I gotta really cue in again.
A very semantically oriented person.
So like all these over the top deliveries and how we are, these impassioned pleas, they're not really cutting. And he did his time and he wants out. Let's see what he's talking about. Let's see what he's setting up here.
Not my first listen, but he did it. That's why he's a music producer, right?
You just say pseudo sacrosanct perversion? Wow, again. How you doing, dictionary.com? So pseudo, so it's fake, it's artificial, right? Sacrosanct, something like we hold as holy, something that, you can't touch, whether it's inalienable rights or if it relates to religion. Maybe holding Sunday as a very sacrosanct day. We don't work on Sundays. We don't open. So pseudo means taking these things, these societal sacrosanct things, whether it's a commentary on religion or other parts of society that people hold sacrosanct, but it's really fake. It's pseudo. It's artificial. Wow, that's a heavy line. And then I think before that, didn't he say like packaging perversion or subversion? Oh.
Something I should mention, I always get the lyrics wrong for us, right? So I really don't understand a lot of the meaning behind the songs unless I actually have to Google them up and to understand what the song is about and what the band is trying to say. What I will say, in addition to that, is that, what I was going to say, I find it, I'm learning so much whenever I listen to Knox Hill breakdown songs. I just sort of let someone guide me because I can't keep up unless it's not like I'm going to search up the lyrics most of the time when I listen to a song, I'll be honest. And I usually don't sit down to think too much about the lyrics unless the song already has an emotional, it already resonates to my emotional state, right? You listen to a song, the tune, the melody really hits because it makes you feel whatever you're currently feeling due to whatever you're facing in life currently. It accentuates and emphasizes. It makes you feel your current emotions more intensely, and then you go, oh, that's a song I like right now that really allows me to express what I'm feeling. And then you get curious, what is the composer, the songwriter trying to say? What are they expressing? Are they going through something similar or something different? But the emotional content, the weight of it, the intensity and the weight, specifically the qualitative nature, whether it's frustration or despair or, giggly, bubbly joy, right? In what way is there an interpretive analogy where it's something similar? Is it something similar? So you dive into the lyrics and you try to figure out and understand what the artist is trying to convey. I just learned so much from listening to people actually reacting, and in this case, of course, Knox Hill is actually a producer himself, so he creates his own songs. And
the dude with like the pinhead.
Right, this was going to say, so a lot of the stuff that obviously I noticed that metal songs tend to cover are societal large issues. It's not a surprise that back they kind of came up, they sprouted in an era, I think in the 70s and 80s, where socialism was or anarchy. I think anarchy was heavily touted in Western society. It was like the counterculture that was kind of like emerging in the youth at the time. So it wouldn't be surprising to me to hear that they're complaining about society all the time, about the greed and corruption of society. Sounds a lot, and there's going to be sometimes some overlap into not controversial. Well, everything they do is controversial, but into specifically controversy surrounding conspiracy theories sometimes. And I'm not saying that this is one of those, as you'll see, and because I watched up to like the 5-minute mark here beforehand, but as you'll see, it's not really about necessarily conspiracies specifically in this song. This one's just much more broader in general about the greed and corruption and how politicians, set up all sorts of facade, fake motives to go and fight wars to extract, in this case, oil and gas, natural resources. So there's definitely an American thing at the time, and Knox will dive into this, but I wouldn't be able to understand all that if it weren't because of Knox. I just know that they were complaining about something about society, and they were really fed up and angry about it, but I wouldn't know specifically what it was based off the lyrics, unless I listen to it like 25 times, and I usually still can't really pick up on it. It's usually the emotional weight that I resonate with. For example, the fury, the frustration, the sense of profound betrayal. That is what I pick up on really well from metal. But as to what they're speaking on, the larger societal broad issues, I usually miss. And this is what I'm here for. I'm here to listen to Knox Hill really go in on that so that I can understand the artist of a song, what they're trying to say, what the artist, the songwriter is trying to say, as opposed to what I actually feel when I listen to the song and how it relates to me on a private level. How does the artist itself, himself or herself, how did they end up creating this song that for some reason I can resonate to, even though we have such different interpretations of the vocabulary of the lyrics. And it's so funny because it's oftentimes whatever I'm feeling, and that drives me to really appreciate a certain song. It's just so opposite and so different from what the songwriter actually was trying to convey, right? Obviously, and it sometimes just makes me feel really stupid. And other times it makes me feel as though I'm not just disconnected, but very egocentric, right? Because you're always, I guess this is true for a lot of people, anyways. But whenever you listen to a song, it's obviously more you're deriving meaning and relating it to yourself, to your own events, not so much to the greater, broader public, general public, or society. Although you could be, right? Relating to politics, right, specifically, and all sorts of mainstream political ideas, but clearly that's the mindset that this band is taking it. I think that's what sort of differentiates a lot of times some of the songs I hear in metal, the general vibe I get from metal, compared to just pop that you hear on the radio, talking about these very egocentric, private romance. Oh, my girlfriend or boyfriend broke up with me. Oh, I'm in love or whatever. And then in this case, it's like talking about way to the other opposite, where it is completely, what's the opposite? What's the word that would be antagonistic to the ego, to the egocentrism? It's like completely non-self-oriented, right? It's like selfish, and then this is selfless, but neither in a good or positive way or a negative way, right? I'm just saying objectively here. It's one that is more focused on the individual, and this is more focused on the broader collective. Yeah, I think that's the right word to use. Selfish and selfless are not quite the right words, but rather focused on individual problems at a microscopic private scale versus focus on the collective issues at a broader public scale. Okay, there we go. The two contrasts to sides.
Is not the drummer. He's over there, I think on a keyboard, doing something. There's a lot of fire happening too. Fire's fun.
And then I just went in on that talk about society and in the individual, and Knox perfectly just says, fire's fun. I gotta chill out.
Yeah, it was packaging subversion. So now we're packaging these subversive subconscious lies to you.
There
What are we
you go.
going on here? What are we going in on? Greater societal commentary, right? How they lead you with these different laws, these different things. They appeal to your emotions, but really they're packaging lies underneath of it. They're packaging their own subversive motives and what they want to train you to follow and to do. Holy shit. Go drill your yeah, so now we're really going in. So we set up like the background, right? And we start critiquing, and then he's letting us know who the target is. You know, you want to go drill in the deserts? What are you going to do? You're going to go chase oil? You could take that. When did this drop? 13 years ago? Iraq war could be commenting on. And Corey Taylor's view that that war was really about natural resources, going to drill the deserts.
So this one I did pick up on because the lyrics here are far more direct when you say, you know, go dig your graves. I think it's pretty straightforward. But I did miss the part, you know, of like in terms of there's a double entendre there. Dig your graves, like drill in the desert, dig your graves. So there's actually an environmental setup there, right? That's relating it to the oil in the sands, for example, or out in the sands of the Middle East. I just say I have to be specific about that because, you know, in my country there's actually an oil sands, but that gives it a little bit of a giveaway. Needless to say, I probably found this a little bit more obvious to me that they're talking politically on a wire scale about war and stuff like that. Something that didn't really quite resonate to me as strongly when I grew up. I said, you know, you're talking about yourself getting outraged because your country is going to war. I know it kind of affects you in a broader scale, but does it really? Is that something you can really do something about? Is there something else that you could probably focus on that is actually more within your control? I felt. Yeah, that's why that's something that I felt a little disjointed, disconnected from metal at first. Right now, I don't. It's not like a big deal, but definitely when I was first, when I first was entering, no, not entering, when I just did not listen to rock or metal in general, those kind of themes didn't really resonate with me as well. I felt as if they were commentating on things that really don't affect them in a way that they can resolve. It's like, I don't know, it's true to a degree, right? But I recognize that, of course, that does affect through very indirect ways and yet uncontrollable ways, whether or not you can make a living, whether or not, you know, your tax funds go to the appropriate sources, and improving the communities that you're living in, as opposed to just going into the pockets of greedy men. So, but could you really make a difference about that kind of stuff? So,
digging your graves because we're going to war, all the bodies that have been piled up, but really at the end of it all, it's all for money that we're filling our mouths with, these corrupt politicians. What was that a dead thing of? A dead raccoon? Oh, wow.
So, by the way, this is about the mark where I stopped to think about recording this video. The raccoon, I felt it was a symbolic animal because it's a dead raccoon, and raccoons are known for what? Theft, petty theft, digging into the garbage, bottom of the barrel scraping for food. So that's a resemblance of perhaps the outrage and what, you know, it's a depiction of these thieves hopefully killing off themselves. Symbolic. Now, of course, it could just be a dead raccoon. Who knows? Just a dead animal, just to demonstrate chaos. It doesn't have to mean anything deep like that, which isn't deep at all. Actually, it's just like more simplistic than it's probably just more simple than I was making it out to be. I just want to point that out, that it could be a representation of, you know, thieves. Just calling them out.
Wow. I mean, normally the rain is healthy and beautiful, you know, it gives life and H2O and water, but in this case, I
thought this was funny when he talks about how rain's killing
Never
us.
thought about the rain in that way. I'm not going outside without an umbrella again. Wow, no one else can see the preservation of the martyr in me.
So that was a lyric, the preservation of the martyr in me, that I resonated with. So, you know, I was just talking earlier about how there are certain songs, I mean, you know, about during certain songs you can relate to the emotional content, but not to the message. And that for that reason, I always enjoy listening to what reactors, who are music producers and artists, have to say, because I felt that I wanted to understand the song artist's meaning and see at what level, if there's any connection at all. And I noticed that if there is one thing that made me feel I was able to understand the frustration, if not necessarily the topic of frustration, but the emotional content of frustration itself, it's that I felt an intense sense of, as I mentioned earlier, when I really got into metal, it was because I was feeling betrayed, definitely, at a personal, individual level, in the household and the relationships that I had gotten myself into, partly out of my own fault and doing, but you know, it's complicated, right? Because this actually, unfortunately, goes all the way back to my upbringing, so it has a lot to do with habits and behaviors built upon years, decades actually of, and I haven't lived that many decades, right? So that really says a lot about how the percent proportion to which it encompasses my patterns of behavioral thinking, behavioral actions, right? I mean, sorry, behavior is action, attitude is like your thoughts and your ideas, your predisposition. So definitely, when okay, back to the point here, they spoke about not being able to see the martyr, the preservation of the martyr in oneself. I had been at that point, up to that point, a very much of a person who just gave everything away to others, out of many different reasons that are all intertwined, right, at multiple levels, right? You say,